Hello, Mike here from Mertzke Custom Woodworking. Welcome to my shop and welcome to another edition of Woodshop Confessions. Today I'll be installing a 2.8 watt laser and driver kit on my X-Carve CNC. This kit was provided by JTech Photonics. I have been wanting to add a laser engraver in my shop for some time now, but price and space were always the two limiting factors. While doing some research, I found this company and I'm very excited to be working with them on this project. Since the laser is considerably less powerful than most commercial laser engravers, there's some reduction in capabilities. But since it mounts on my already existing CNC, that removes the issue of available space in the shop. The team over at JTech Photonics has done a great job of not only putting detailed instructions on their website for upgrading the X-Carve, but 18 other CNCs and 3D printers. One thing I really like about this setup is that I can mount the laser and driver on my X-Carve and I'll be able to switch between the two very easily. If you plan on doing this upgrade, I would recommend reading over the instructions before starting. This kit includes all the mounting hardware for the driver board and laser, but you have the option of either purchasing them or downloading the file from their website and having them 3D printed yourself. Since the driver board is going to be mounted on top of the Z-axis motor mount plate, I will no longer be able to use the aluminum knob. To be honest, I don't use it often anymore since I've got accustomed to using the computer to set my Z-axis height. The driver mount will attach to the Z-axis motor mount plate using the 4 existing bolts. The driver mount is printed into 2 separate parts and are bolted together with the provided hardware. This mount was designed to allow the driver to be easily removed if needed. For this install, I'll be permanently mounting and wiring the laser and driver to my X-Carve. If you aren't running dust collection on your CNC, it might be advisable to remove yours while you're carving. Remounting your Z-axis motor with the new driver mount is done the same way the motor was originally installed. This way you make sure you have the proper tensioning on your GT2 pulley. The laser driver has 4 screws that must be loosened just enough to slide it in on the keyhole slots on the mount. Again, this is so the driver board can be removed quickly if needed. I'll be tightening mine down. Next is to install the laser mounting plate to the spindle mount by removing the lower 2 bolts and placing it in the gap at the open side of the spindle mount. Here I'm reinstalling the original bolts, but later I switch them out for longer ones that go all the way through. To install the laser, you attach it to the mounting plate with the 2 included bolts. At this point I should have installed the optional fan upgrade that I got, but we'll get to that later. Wiring the laser and driver board are pretty straightforward. The wires that come off the laser come with a Molex Mini Fit Junior connector, but I just cut that off and wired it directly to the board. The control signal input is wired from the driver board directly to the terminal block on the back of the Z-axis gantry and uses the original black and red cable for controlling the stock spindle. The included power cable for the driver board I ran through the drag chain, and for your sake I didn't include it in the video. This next portion of the video is where I make a small 3-way switch box so that I could toggle between the G-shield controlling either the laser or my DeWalt router. I measured out the center of the box and used a Dremel to rough out the opening, and then used a file to square it off and fine-tune it to fit. I pre-drill 3 holes so that the wires from the spindle control enter the box in the center and the laser and router controls go out from either side. From there it's simply hooking up the laser signal wires to one side of the switch, the router signal wires to the opposite side, and the wires going to the spindle control connected to the center terminals of the switch. The whole idea of this project working to meet my needs was to include another capability within my shop without taking up any additional room, and also without causing an issue to switch between using the X-Carve as a CNC or as a laser engraver. Now it really is just as easy as flipping a switch. Now let's get that fan upgrade installed. The fan upgrade kit comes with a fan, wiring harness, mount, and all needed hardware. Start off by installing the fan onto the mount, making sure that it faces down and secure it with the included hardware. Then the laser is attached to the mount and the whole subassembly is attached to the laser mount on the spindle. This fan will keep the laser cool and then blow away any of the smoke created while you're engraving. Wiring the fan is pretty straightforward. You just plug the wire into the associated spot on the driver board. I shortened the wires on mine so there wasn't a bunch of extra wire, and then secured the wires with zip ties. So here's a little test engrave I did. Of course this is sped up just a tad bit for your viewing pleasure. Now in the beginning of the video I talked about since it was a lower powered laser there would be some reduction in capabilities. And there is, but only when it comes to cutting with the laser. This thing is more than powerful enough to engrave, which is what I wanted a laser for in my shop. If I'm going to use a CNC to cut something, I'll just use a milling bit in the X-Carve. Well, I hope you enjoyed this short overview of the install, and hopefully I'll have some more videos out in the future showing some more of what this laser can do. Thanks for watching.